That's right. What went wrong? Might ask about this show as well. Little technology issue. We're back. Shane Matthews is in the orange and blue room answering the question, what went wrong? Do we have enough room to list it all here? We'll find out next right here on the Buddy Martin Show. Shane Matthews joins me along with Franz Beard. Stay tuned on Meldon Law Monday.
For Buddy Martin, call him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening, we're here. Stand by. Shane Matthews, Orange and Blue Room. Let's go right to it. We're late getting started, and the Shaner is here. Shane, rub away those cobwebs, buddy. Long weekend, tough duty, lots to talk about, and yet not a whole lot to talk about. So the question I have for you, and of course we saw in the opening, what went wrong? I also say what really went wrong for Florida, and in the end, would it have really made that much difference about the play calling? Because let's be honest, Florida was outmatched, Shane.
Yeah, I wouldn't say anything went wrong. I mean, they're a superior football team. We were overmatched from the get-go.
Yeah.
I saw it in pregame warm-up. It was a really good first drive, but then we never even slowed them down one bit. So, people can have their own opinions on the 4th and 1 call. I had zero problems with it. I give Georgia credit because I'd say 90% of players on defense would have gone for the fake and not done their responsibility. But number two, the outside linebacker, defensive end, whatever position he plays, I think he's outside linebacker, made a great play. But look, Georgia has a dynasty going right now, and it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get better, and that's not good for our sake. But all we can do is keep plugging away.
It is the truth. It's what I wrote about as well. That in the end, just tip your hat to a superior team in every way. There were a number of things that struck me. I had no problems with the 4th down call. You want to give your team the best chance to win. Now, you can argue all day whether he should have called a pass play to a guy who was inexperienced, whatever. It's a play he'd worked on. He believed in it. You have your playbooks. And people who say it's horrible play calling, it wasn't horrible play calling. So things look a lot better when you got superior players. Georgia was not only good, well coached, disciplined, but they're a lot faster. A friend of mine is a former coach, sat up behind the bench and said he noticed the speed, the difference in the two. And Shane, you were a quarterback in the SEC. If you haven't played at a high level, in high school you can shake those defenders. You can outrun those big defensive tackles. You cannot do it at this level against guys like the Georgia guy. They are, as you say, a dynasty, and get used to it because it's going to be around for a while. I looked it up last night, and I looked up the Ming Dynasty in China. It only lasted like 190 years, whatever. So let's hope it doesn't last that long in Athens.
Yeah, I mean, I said on my show today, and do I like Georgia? No, but I respect what Kirby Smart has done there. But this is year 8. He's won 2 national titles. Had a chance, really should have won his 3rd, except for his 2nd and 26 that they gave up to Alabama. That cost him the game. He's probably going to win it this year. We need the NFL to hire him away, but I don't see him leaving. He's got an ideal job being a former player there. He's got his best friend, probably one of the best defensive minds in the game, in Will Muschamp. I think he's going to end up winning more national titles than Nick Saban.
Yeah. We may see Athens, Georgia become what Tuscaloosa's been in recent years because it's obviously there's a talent level that's there. Shane, I knew they were good. You knew they were good. We saw them. They just hit their stride now. They don't miss a beat anywhere. And their coaching is excellent. Not only are they good, they're all in the right position. They make the play. Some great form tackling. Like you said, the one time the guy doesn't go for the fake is the time it hurts you the most. So people who start ripping on the play calling and stuff, I mean, look, yeah, you can second get play calling, but I mean, look, it's the same old mentality of we're champions or let's fire the coach. And it really gets old after a while.
Yeah, it's exhausting. And I think people need to be realistic. The whole offensive coordinator thing is driving me insane because I try to tell people, first of all, 99.9% of the people that complain about this have never played football, probably never played sports, and never called a play in their life. And that's not taking a shot at them, but play calling, some plays work. I thought Billy called really good. He had some really good designs the first series, and I had no problem with the double reverse, zero problem with it. But let's go back. He got the job at Florida because of what he did at Louisiana. Okay. He was sought after not just by Florida, by multiple Power 5 schools. Okay. I'm going back to the play calling because who is there to hire is what I want people to know. You can just sit here and say, I want to hire an offensive coordinator. I need people to give me valid reasons of who and where they're going to come from because as I stated last week, or maybe it was just this week, I can't remember. Time's kind of run together. But the number one offensive coordinator that was sought after last year was Garrett Riley. He's at Clemson. And let me just inform people, they're not very good offensively. Okay. And here's the thing, buddy. I really don't have a whole lot of concern about the offense. You know what my concern is?
Yeah, defense. The secondary's outplayed for
No. I'm talking about run defense. We are literally, if you look at the stats, and sometimes stats don't tell everything, we're about the same where we were last year, statistically. And that's another reason why I feel the reason Billy went for it on fourth down. Because the first two drives of the game, we didn't even slow them down.
Yeah.
Because think about this. We take the opening drive against South Carolina, the opening kickoff, we drive down, score a touchdown. 5 plays later, it's tie ball game. We take the opening kickoff against the number one team in America, and we drive down and take the lead. 5 or 6 plays later, it's a tie ball game. We have to punt. They kick a field goal. We have to punt. Next thing you know, they score a touchdown. Now it's 10-7. We were not going to slow them down at all. So, look, we just aren't anywhere near the talent level that they are.
Exactly.
You can say we're not coached as well, but I firmly believe Kirby Smart is the number one coach in America right now.
I can't disagree with you. Why would you not say that? I mean, pick somebody else. And not only that, he also is going to be a great coach and going to be a great coach for a long time. He has everything he needs there right now. And by the way, for those people who laughed at Mike Bobo, I think Mike Bobo called a terrific game on offense. I think he's been calling a terrific game, and he knows his players. And I was impressed all the way around. They don't have great skilled players in some positions, but they have good ones everywhere. And you can't stop them all. Shane, I actually saw some good things including the drive that we talked about, opening drive. I thought Graham Mertz played pretty well, made some bad choices, but he was under a lot of pressure. You stand back there. Well, I mean,
I'm saying
he unfortunately lost the ball a couple of times.
Well, that happens all the time. I mean, that's not his fault. I mean, look, and these other people that complain about him, he has played way beyond what anybody ever thought he was going to be. Again, I think our skill players on offense are outstanding. We're not very good on the O-line. We're not very good anywhere really on defense, in my opinion, right now. We got a long ways to go, but I think people need to get off the offensive coordinator thing. I don't think that's going to happen. That's just my gut feeling.
That's an old story. That's one of 4 weeks.
Because what does it matter who you going to hire? I need people to just quit saying that, especially just the average fan. And some of these here's the problem with the world today, buddy, is Twitter or social media. Because back when we played, there was none of that. So you had some of the idiot fans out there that would just say it, but it wasn't where you could read it or players could read it or coaches' wives or whatever.
Right.
It's just they're a bunch of morons for some of the stuff that they say. And I'm not just saying about for the Gator. I'm talking about for all fan bases, because it's amazing to me how people want to criticize players when they've never played, or they want to criticize or second guess a coaching decision. And I'm not just talking about Billy Napier. I'm talking about whether it's an NFL coach or what. It's just it baffles me.
Well, here's an example of that. Excuse me, I'm interrupting you. Here's a guy I don't know, Nathaniel Rogers. Okay, how's this for logic? You should have gave Bad English, should have gave McElwain or Muschamp everything they needed. What kind of an asinine comment is that, Shane? Are they going to say, "Oh, they'd have won if they gave them everything they needed"? I mean,
no.
Please.
And again, I'm a firm believer of this, and I hope Billy Napier's the right guy. But there are the coaches that win championships are special coaches. Okay. If there weren't, you'd have multiple people winning multiple SEC or ACC or whatever championships. Think about it, buddy. There's only 2 that's won an SEC championship at Florida. There's only 3 in the history of Georgia. I think there's only 3 in the history of Alabama. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, I thought about it a lot and wrote about it last week, talking about the great honor it was to have coaches at Florida like Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. What they did now, you think it looks better now? I think so. It's hard to do that. It's extremely hard to do that. That's why so few people do it. So for those who say, well, Shane and Buddy are making excuses for him tonight.
I'm not making any excuses. The excuses are.
No, I know. I said for those who say that.
I don't care. They can tweet me or whatever on Twitter. I'm not going to respond to them because I don't get into these silly back and forth. The bottom line is, if you could not see that the Georgia Bulldogs are clearly better than the Florida Gators, you need to go see your eye doctor. I don't know how else to put it. That's not an excuse. That's a fact.
Yeah. Let me read a couple things to you. We'll take a quick break for a commercial. Here's a friend of mine, a former coach, okay? Not a college coach, but a pretty smart high school coach. He said, I sat 10 rows behind the Florida bench Saturday. Our linemen, offensive and defense, are just as big as Georgia. The problem was our guys looked slow and not as good a shape as Georgia. And Georgia's defense is really, really fast to be that close. You really hate to see it. I hope Billy does what Urban and Coach Spurrier did and go after more speed. Georgia's very well coached. He's right about that. And of course, they're going after speed. It's hard to get those big guys who move like that. Those are your 5-stars.
Let me address that.
All right, yeah.
I told you in the summertime, I was very impressed at the size of the kids that we brought in. Okay. I don't really watch interior guys because I don't care about that stuff in practice. I watch the skill guys. Here's the difference, because multiple people continued sending me text on the Titan MR text line, my show. We need a new strength program. Okay. Well, I'm the last person to be talking to about a strength program because I wasn't into lifting weights and things. But everybody in America pretty much do the same list when it comes to professional sports or college sports. You squat, you bench, you power clean, you deadlift, and you do other things. Nobody has any special sauce, okay, secrets. The difference is, buddy, there is weight room strength and then there is football strength, okay? You could be the strongest damn person in the world in the weight room and a big dude, but can't block anybody or can't move anybody and make a tackle.
Yep.
There's a difference. And we got to find dudes that are strong, that can move and play football.
Yeah. Billy said, I think for me, walking off that field Saturday, I feel how I felt was we gave our best. I feel the same way today after watching the film. I do think there are a lot of positives on the tape. There are also areas we have issues. We need to get that better. I do think we got some things that happened in the game. They're very fixable. I think ultimately when we look at that, the players, I think they feel the same way. As a staff, I know there are things we can do from a concept standpoint that can help players in all three parts of our team. What's he going to do? He's superior dudes. What's he going to say? They weren't as good. And here's something I wrote. A bold coach and a willing group of players, noble though that may be, are not enough to compete with a great team. Billy Napier has to find some more powerful weapons and keep reloading with them. And don't look now, but Athens, Georgia is about to become the next Tuscaloosa. Athens lives in the same football neighborhood as Gainesville, and Kirby Smart isn't going off riding to the sunset soon. Not good news for Gator fans. And finally, smackdowns are painful to watch. Greatness is tough to overcome. Or next time, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. You just got hit by a freight train. Don't let it derail your mission. Go find better players, coach better, and play better. Period. I say that.
I agree. I mean, we got to get better in all phases. You're exact. I mean, I firmly believe Georgia surpassed Alabama.
Great point. I do too. It's a great point.
Yeah. They surpassed them last year, and I think I firmly believe Kirby will win more national titles than Saban, because it's his alma mater. He's not going anywhere. There's no reason for him to leave there.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the meantime, the Gators have to figure out a way to close the gap, and hopefully, with this class coming in, the portal, all that stuff, in year 3, we can do that.
That's a great point. And even though Kirby won't be in Athens forever, as I mentioned, China's Ming Dynasty eventually ended in 1644 after beginning in 1368. I wonder if the opposing party, the Manchu, had the battle cry, "Wait till next century." That's right back then. So, all right, Shane, there's a really great stuff. Stay tuned for a second. Get our sponsor in here. I'll come right back with Shane Matthews, who's got more thoughts on the Florida Gators. The season is not over, although it may feel that way. Jeffrey Meldon. Jeffrey, you do a show where you get asked a lot of questions. I've got one for you right now, okay, regarding how do you know whether your case is being handled right and what to do about it. In medicine, you can get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the doctor's opinion that they have. And do you have that in law? Can you do that with lawyers?
Yeah, buddy. As a matter of fact, we get quite a few calls from folks that have signed up, particularly with the big box law firms, that they do a hell of a good job of putting ads on TV, but after that, they don't really measure up to the way we try to create a client experience that's outstanding. And we're always willing to review a case and give a second opinion, just like with a doctor, because not all law firms are created equal.
I guess that's the normal thing. Just go to Meldon Law, Google it, and find out, and just give them a call. And like you say, if you come in, you get to see a Meldon. You'll get Meldon Law. They won't back down. Check them out for your needs in the law. Shane, how good is Trey Wilson?
He's as good as I saw. I knew he was going to be a good player. He's a really good player. I was pleased that Billy targeted him. I think he had 13 targets.
11 catches. 11 catches.
Yeah, so we try to get the ball to him as many times as possible. Tough football player and has a bright future.
Why do you think Pearsall didn't get more targets? Double all the time?
I think he got 11, which is a lot.
That many? Yeah. Pearsall did? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they get that many. Yeah, so one thing I liked, I don't know if you read the post-game comments or not. Earlier when I made a reference to Graham Mertz, I was saying it as a compliment. I wasn't knocking him. I thought he played well. His leadership was good. What I liked about his post-game comments, he said just what you need to hear. He said, there will be no snowball effect from this. I can guarantee you that. And that's what you need. Someone can say, okay, we lost 7, let's tee it up and go again. It's not over. And here's the thing. We wanted them to go faster. They wanted them to have a good opening drive. They did. I love what I saw from Wilson. Montrell Johnson was back on his game a little bit. You wanted a more aggressive game plan, and Billy gave it to you. Now you're mad because he didn't get the 4th down call.
Yeah, like I said, I'm an offensive guy. I haven't really had any problem with the offense the last couple of weeks. I think people need to go back and look. And I like Austin Armstrong a lot, but we're not very good on defense, people. Statistically, we can't stop anybody. That's just the fact.
What is wrong, Shane? Is it the secondary? Is it a lack of pressure? They don't seem to get to a quarterback.
I mean, our secondary is not playing great, but we don't pressure the quarterback. We don't even get near the quarterback.
Right.
If it's 7, they're playing 7-on-7, and it's hard to cover people, man. Now we'll be tested. Got a big running quarterback. He doesn't throw it great. I mean, he's got a decent arm. They'll take some shots, Arkansas, but Arkansas is very, very beatable. Their struggle this year. I expect us to win the football game.
All right. So we've got the black uniforms. They're celebrating the armed services on Saturday. Getting back to a place where they've had a good record. They won. What's ahead now for Florida? They can still beat the projections of this team and get bowl eligible, which is something that used to matter that much. And they still have a chance to, let's say, it's going to be tough now at Missouri. We didn't expect that. We know what we got in Florida State, Arkansas. So how likely are they to come out with a winning record this season right now?
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, look, it doesn't look great, but I mean, I do firmly believe we can beat Arkansas at home. I'm not a believer in Florida State, and I can be proven wrong, but they've struggled with a lot of bad teams. Missouri, we'll see. They're probably going to get beat up a little bit in Athens this week, and then I think they play Tennessee the week that we play LSU before we go to their place. So a lot of football left, and look. First of all, buddy, nobody in America that watch your show thought we were going to win 4 games this year. Everybody thought we were going to lose to South Carolina, we're going to lose to Kentucky, we're going to lose to Vanderbilt, we're going to lose to this team. You got to put the Georgia game out of your mind, man. That team is a gauntlet. I mean, I was one of those kind of guys because I watched Georgia a little bit here and there. Hadn't played great. Even Eric Zier, their color commentator, told me he was scared to death about the game. He didn't think they could beat us because they haven't played well all year.
They played their best game by far.
It's a team they just flip the switch when they want to.
Yeah.
And I look now. I see now. The games they have left, they have some really good teams that are ranked right now. So I think they got their attention, and they'll play well the rest of the year. But Florida just needs to go out and beat Arkansas. As simple as that.
All right. What are the things they can change and fix? They ought to get to the quarterback this week a little bit. Number one, I'm a little worried about some of the spotty secondary play. I don't know about why they can't get to the quarterback. Offensive line's got some issues, especially at tackle, especially at right tackle. What do you do there?
Well, they brought Cam Waits in at right tackle the last couple of series. Mm-hmm. I would guess. I'm just guessing. He may start this game. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do. You got what you got. Just try to put a plan together to be as successful as you possibly can.
What has happened to Makuza and to George? We expected better.
Well, buddy, I try to tell people it's hard to block, first of all. If you watch games on Sundays, the best tackles, the highest paid tackles in the world get beat. They're getting beat a lot for whatever reason. Like I told you, they may not be football strong. They may be extremely strong in the weight room, but it's not translating. Damian George doesn't have great feet. He's getting beat around the edge really bad. Yeah. We got to have maybe a back help him if he's playing, or a tight end help him, whatever.
Put a fullback in. That's what Urban did. Same as the H-back, obviously. Now I'm going to bring Franz on for a minute, Shane. I know you got to go, but I want to talk a little bit about what's ahead, and also how do you shake off this Georgia loss? Because it's hard when you get beat really bad. It sounded like in the post-game interviews, some of the players, especially Mertz, was working on that and doing pretty well in terms of saying there's no snowball effect. Let me ask you first, Shane, how do you shake off the loss to Georgia, or can you?
Oh, they'll shake it off. Look, buddy, they watched tape preparing for this Georgia team all summer leading up to the game. They knew what they were walking into. Did they think they could win it? Yeah, I mean, you always think you can win games, but they knew they were playing the damn best team in America, who's won 25 straight games and back-to-back national titles. I mean, if the players didn't realize what they were walking into, they were obviously sleeping in the meetings then.
Yeah, sure. Francis, good evening to you. How do they shake it off? How do they shake it off, Franz?
Well, the sign of a team that's starting to mature is they're able to put bad losses in the rear view. They've done that already this year in the way that they shook off Utah, the way they shook off Kentucky. And I'll say this. I think it was harder to shake off those two losses than Georgia because, as Shane said, they knew what they were getting into with Georgia. I think Kentucky surprised them with how well they manhandled them. I think Utah did too. So I think it'll be easier to do. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to, but I think it will be easier to do. And I think it helps also when you got guys in that locker room like Graham Mertz, who is a very mature guy. I mean, listening to him in post-game and so forth like that, this is a guy that I think teammates gravitate to because he does, he's got the maturity that they wish they had. It's like when Shane was, his junior year, which was, we won the SEC for the first time. And I know this for a fact. Teammates gravitated towards Shane because he'd done it the year before. He'd proven it. He didn't have anything to prove, but he was a stable force in that locker room and on that field. And I think Graham Mertz has that kind of ability to be a stabilizing force. There's pretty good leadership on this team, which I don't think was there last year. Therefore, I give them a chance to win 2 ball games more. One, I believe they're going to beat Arkansas. I really believe they're going to beat Arkansas. Arkansas is in free fall right now. And I think they're going to win that game. And who knows, maybe the confidence they get in that ball game. You never know. LSU is scary good on offense, but their defense can be scary bad too. So, you get in shootout games are weird. I've seen so many teams who should have won shootout games. Like last year, Alabama and Tennessee. Alabama should have won that ball game, and they lost. What was the final score on that one? 52-50 or something like that, or 51-49. You get in shootout games, and weird things happen. It only takes one bad break, whatever. So I'm not saying they're going to beat them, but stuff happens. And as long as they don't have a meltdown in that locker room, I think they're going to be pretty good. And let me address one other thing everybody was talking about and earlier, and Shane was talking about Damian George. Damian George left Alabama because he wanted to play tackle, and Alabama said, "You're not quick enough. You got to play guard." So he came here to play tackle, and guess what? He's quick enough to play guard, but he's not a tackle. I mean, the guy needs to move inside. Richie Leonard is incapable of dealing with things at left guard, and this is a problem. You got a center that's got to have help in Kingsley or Jake Slaughter, and you got a left guard that's really not good enough to take on guys one-on-one. Those 2 fumbles, both of them went straight over Richie Leonard, and George's inside linebacker gets both of those fumbles. So,
all right, let's give Shane a respond to this. Shane, do you see that?
Like I said, buddy, I don't follow line play, but yeah, I mean, I've already mentioned Damian George. Nothing against the kid. He doesn't have feet to play tackle. I don't think at all. I mean, he gets beat around the edge. Sometimes doesn't even get a hand on the guy. That's what bothers me.
All right, Shane, I'll let you get back to your cookies and milk and Monday Night Football. Thank you. Sorry we were late tonight getting started with Shane.
All good.
Technology, and I'll be on your show tomorrow with you if you allow me to.
All right, fellas. Y'all have a good night.
All right, thank you, Shane. The great Shane Matthews. Appreciate that. Boy, sure makes you appreciate someone like Shane these days. But you know what? I thought William Mertz played well. I really did. I know you missed the part where we talked about this. Shane said this, and I wrote it down in my notes. I don't have any problem with the fourth down call. It's, when they work, they're great. When they don't, they aren't. Now everybody's an expert on the play. Yes, and here's part of the reason on the two calls is that one of them, the Georgia defense had it read perfectly. And like Shane says, the linebacker didn't go with the fake like 90% of them would, and it didn't work out that way. So I don't know. Where do you come down on the trick plays and the fourth down calls?
Well, you got to get an edge somehow. When you know that the other team has superior personnel, I don't have a problem calling a play like that. I don't have a problem with it going for it. Is the big thing on the fourth down. I don't have a problem with that at all. And let's face it, the linebacker didn't take the fake, but the other thing was the snap was high. The snap's up in here. And on a play like that, particularly when you got a non-passer throwing the ball's got to come in here. The ball has got to come in chest high. And it didn't. It was a bad snap as for that particular play. And I think that gave just enough hesitation. It was an RPO. Etienne had the option to take it and just take off, which I think, he might have done anyway, given the way that Georgia was prepped for it. And who knows? I think he probably gets the first down as hard as he runs because he runs downhill. But
all right,
that will never know.
I want to say something about a family here, friends of mine and friends of yours too, and that is that there are several people, families that have been such core groups to the Florida Gators. We talked about the Jacksons, etc. One that I know well and care about are the Peaks, and you know them too. And Albert Willie Peak is not necessarily of that genre. She's a Peak Wilbur, but different Peak. I had this message from Gene Peak on Thursday night. Albert Peak passed away peacefully into heaven just before midnight. May God always bless him and keep him in his presence forever. Gators should always remember his presence as a tremendous Gator swimmer, otherwise as a great Gator, Gene Peak. So Albert was David, the other big guy, played the offensive tackle back in the days when they weren't winning any games. He's a very prominent attorney now. Gene, of course, is attorney in Jacksonville, and Tommy lives here in Ocala. So I want to say my condolences to the Peak family. And Albert was a tremendous person in our county, a leader, a great Gator fan. So we're going to miss people like that. And when we lose members of our families like that, it hurts.
Yeah, great. Great Gators. The Peaks have over the years. It's like the McCalls. The McCalls have been just absolutely fantastic. Ocala, you got to admit, buddy, Ocala's been good to the Gators over the years.
Yeah, it has.
And I think that's been an important part of the legacy of Florida football is that you look at the local kids who've done well and have left their legacy. The Peak family, my goodness, they were tremendous. They've been tremendous. So I gotta hand it to them and give them my condolences as well. But such good people, and not just good football players or athletes, just flat out good people.
Really good people.
And the world's a better place because they were in it.
Absolutely. Let me just give you a quick read on Titan MRI, one of our sponsors. We appreciate all they do for us, have been sponsoring us for quite a while. Thank you for the folks up in there. And by the way, if you haven't heard about this, if you have any medical concerns or things like Franz and I do, when you got to go get MRIs and things, it can be a royal pain. Going to the doctor anytime can be a royal pain. But it's easier now with places like Titan MRI. That's why people are around here in different parts of the state are going to Gainesville. It's a short drive. If you have no insurance, it's not a problem. You still can get your MRI very reasonably. You can pay with cash or card, same-day scheduling, and it's not that expensive. I was surprised to know you'd think an MRI would cost a ton of money. So you should feel better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. It's hard enough out there as it is now, taking care of your medical issues, and you've got a situation where you make life easier with all your MRIs and things like that. It's sure a blessing. So come see why hundreds of people and patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, the villages, all places up around North Central Florida. TitanMRI.com. Friends, give me something good to take away from Florida, Georgia. I've got one thing I'll give you when you get done. So give me something that you saw that you say, okay, it was a disaster, and yeah, it's hard to talk about, but here's something I saw I kind of like. Do you have anything?
I got two things.
Okay.
And one of them is Graham Mertz, the poise in which he shows out there. This is a guy that goes out there and knows he's going to get a beating, and he doesn't complain about anything. He's only got positive things to say about teammates, etc. And I think so. The other one is Ricky Pearsall. And Ricky Pearsall just continues to get out there and get the job done. 6 catches, 99 yards in that ball game. There was a play. It was like Florida's second play of the first drive, or it might have been the play before the it was the second. Pearsall comes around in motion, and Mertz makes a throw to him, and he reaches back here, makes the catch behind him, and it only goes for 1 yard. But that's an NFL throw and an NFL catch. It was a great play by the defender. I give the Georgia defender just tremendous credit for making for rallying to the point where he can make a play and then making it. But that was an NFL throw and an NFL catch. And we keep seeing that out of those two guys. The other thing I'll say about is this. The two calls now, what we call fourth and dumb, part due, and legitimately because it failed, and the other one, there's a fine line between genius and dummy. If either one of those plays.
Are you saying there's a chance, friends?
Well, he talked about it today. He said, look, if we make those plays, if we execute those plays, you're talking a different story right now. Do I think they would have changed the outcome of the game? Maybe made it closer, but I think Georgia still wins the game.
I think you're right. That's the point. It would have made a difference, maybe a little, but they weren't going to win the football game.
But here's why having a coach who's got the guts to make those calls, I think that's an important thing to take away from here. Even though they didn't go, not every call is going to, if every play call was going to be a genius call, then, you'd have one play 75-yard drives all the time because the coach just outsmarted everybody. I just like the fact that Billy Napier has the guts to make those calls. We've seen too many coaches over the years, buddy, that got cold feet.
Oh, are you kidding me? Bob Woodard, who once punted the ball on third down in a tie game against Rice, and they asked him why. He says, I'll gamble to lose, but never to win. I'll gamble to win, but never to lose. There's a genius for you right there. And, I mean, look, I like a guy who gives his team a chance. He knew his defense wasn't good enough to stop Georgia. Giving them the ball back was suicide. If you got any chance of keeping the ball, and they did analytically have a chance, you take it. And sometimes it'll work, and sometimes it won't. So you're right. All right, here's mine. Here's a little for people who hate the defense, and Shane and I talked about some parts about we didn't like. In year one under Austin Armstrong, Florida ranked 6th in the SEC, 24th in the Power 5, and 34th in the FBS with a 334 yards allowed per game. Much better than before they got here. So it's better. You went to the press conference today. You asked Billy questions about being on track, making progress. Yeah, I wanted to get that bite. We didn't get it. Tell us what he said.
He said, "Yeah, we have made progress. We got better personnel." But he had a caveat with that. He says, "But we still aren't there." And it's going to come down to personnel. That was the theme of my column today. Is we're chasing Georgia. There's no question we're chasing Georgia. And to reemphasize again, this is 11 years in the making. Muschamp was a great defensive recruiter. And as evidenced by the fact that look at all the guys that played in the NFL who were his defensive players, and look at the fact that the team he left behind to Jim McElwain was an NFL defense. I mean, for 2 years, McElwain goes to the SEC championship game 2 years, not because he outcoached anybody, because he didn't, but because he had an NFL defense that was left behind. You know, if Muschamp could have recruited offensive players, he might still be the coach here. McElwain should have never been here in the first place, and he got fired the next year when all of a sudden he's left to his own devices. Dan Mullen thought you could win at this level with the kind of players you could recruit at Mississippi State. Do you hear what Kirby said in the post game?
I did. That's my next comment.
He said he didn't like to recruit too. And he's right. Dan thought he could recruit at the same Mississippi State level, get those kind of guys and win here. And yeah, he could have kept winning 7 to 9 ball games, occasionally 10 or whatever. But you're not going to win championships like that. Buddy, I'll give you a numbers breakdown. Tell me what you think if you agree with it. Everybody in the SEC, all 14 teams have 22 players who can play. Everybody. I believe that. Now, if you only have 22 players, you're going to win 3 ball games a year. You're Vanderbilt, okay? Okay, if you got 33 players, you're going to win. Maybe you can win 5 ball games, okay? Maybe. You're going to be 4 or 5 wins. You got 22 good ones, and you got a few backups here. Mm-hmm. You got 44 players, which I think is where Florida is right now. You got 44 players. You are what I would call a 6 to 8 win team. Okay. You got 50 players. You can win 9, 10, maybe even 11 every now and then. The difference is Alabama and Georgia, they got 60 players. They got a freshman that is a 5-star kid or a 4-star kid. He's the third teamer. The second teamer is a former 4 or 5-star player who's pushing the first teamer. And they're all waiting, and the 2 guys behind are just waiting their turn. And that's what it takes. You got to have terrific players, pushing terrific players, pushing terrific players. And we don't have that yet. It's not so much that you've recruited these guys, it's that you're developing them, and the guy behind you is pushing you. He is competing with you and pushing you to be better. Because let's say I'm the starting right tackle for the Florida Gators, and I got Buddy Martin behind me, who's a former 5-star guy who thinks he's better than me, and he is pushing me every day. If I don't react to that and play as hard as I can every day in practice, Buddy Martin's going to take my place. Period. End of story. And that's where Florida's got to get. We've got to get this roster to the point that you got the rookie pushing the next guy up who's pushing the starter. And that's where Georgia and Alabama have the advantage every year.
We talk about this being a young team a lot. They're playing a lot of freshmen. No excuses. These kids will mature. Hayden Hansen today, the tight end, made some interesting comments about that. And they said, people talk about Georgia's defense is different. Did you notice that a gap between how they play and what y'all are striving for? He was asked this. And Hayden Hansen said, yes, sir, to me, personally, the one thing I noticed was discipline. They didn't fall for the reverses. They didn't fall for the hard counts. At the end of the day, in my opinion, I didn't feel like they were more physical than any other defenses in the SEC. I just feel like we made more mistakes against the number one team in the nation. You can't do that. You have to come out. You can't give them anything. We just gave them too much. Well, there's a little bit of truth. That's also the truth fact that they're just much better. And when you're getting beat every play, it's a long day, and pretty soon you begin to question your abilities. So anyway, I think young players like Hayden Hansen are growing up and seeing what it's like to be at a high level, and that was a clinic for them right there. That clinic right there, it tells them this is what you aspire to be, and you see how far are you behind. How do you get better, and then how do you exponentially get better while adding more teammates? So it's a process.
They're going to have to. They've already got the number 3 recruiting class that could, I think, could bump up to number 2. I really believe that's possible. I think, I still believe they're going to flip Jermaine Smith, who's the number 1 wideout in the country, who's committed to Ohio State. But I think he and Lagway got something going. The number 1 offensive guard in the country is down at IMG. He's a 5-star, another 5-star. I believe there's a really good chance he's going to flip as well. And then you got the kid from Mainland, McCrae's teammate, who's a 4-star corner and everything. I think they're going to they've got a chance to wind up with the number 2 recruiting class in the country. But where do they got to have the help, buddy? Offensive line, defensive line, right? Those are developmental positions. And you don't have 3 more years to wait on these guys to get ready. So this is where Billy's going to have to recruit. Billy is going to have to go. December is going to be the most critical month, I think, in his tenure as Florida's coach. Not because of the high school kids, because I think the high school kids are going to stick, but because of what he does in the portal. Because I think he's got to come up with 4 offensive linemen. I think he's got to come up with 2 defensive linemen in the portal, minimum. If he can find 5 and 5, that would be absolutely terrific. But I think that's what it's going to take, is I think he's going to have to go to the portal, especially if he can find guys that have 2 years left. I think that's got to be critical. I don't one and done in the transfer portal, I don't think is going to help you that much. I think, but if you can get guys that are going to be here for a couple of years that have the ability to play immediately, I think you got to go really hard in that area.
All right, here's your question. I don't have the video of it. This is what Franz asked today. I'll repeat the written. 2/3, this is what he said, 2/3 of the way through this season, how would you evaluate the progress you made for the first 8 games compared to the progress you made last year? Franz asked Billy Napier. Napier said, I think the biggest difference would be the makeup of our roster relative to who's gaining experience, who's productive, leadership that we see at the player level, the level of discipline we observed today, the camaraderie, the chemistry of the group. Look, I think football's improved in a lot of areas in our team. There's areas we've still gotten better in. There's still areas we need to get better in. Overall, I think we're operating a little bit more efficient. I think there's a good process in place. We're getting better at what we do. We haven't necessarily got the results we wanted a couple of times this year, but I think there's improvement in the big picture. So he sees it. He knows they're not where they need to be. And it was a good question. What is the progress report? And Gator fans are not, or a lot of fans are just, they're quitting on their team already. The haters are quitting, saying, got to go get an offensive coordinator. We got to get a play caller. Blah, blah, blah. So I don't think there's any reason to panic because you lost to the number 1 team in the nation, and they got beat pretty bad. But I think there's all more reason to batten down the hatches, figure it out, get the play together. Guys like Mertzer, they're good leaders at times like this. Find out who
Oh,
your
yeah.
dogs are, right? And then go ahead and see what you can salvage out of the season. And maybe you can win 7 and get to a bowl and start rebuilding for next year.
Well, I think that this team has more character and more discipline. Did you notice how few penalties we had Saturday?
Really. Now, one stuck out because that's the only one they had on offense.
Yeah, that one stuck out. But goodness, this team is growing up, and we see that. And sometimes I don't know if you remember me saying this back in August. I said this team could wind up with the exact same record and be a lot better football team.
I do remember you saying that.
Than last year. And I'll stick by that. They could still be. They may still wind up a 6-7 team. I think they'll finish 6-6 or 7-5. I believe they got 2 wins in them. And I'm call me a homer, whatever you want to call me. I think that they have that in them. Is it going to be easy? No, it isn't. But they're very fortunate that they're going to get some teams that maybe they cause them to step up their play. We tend to forget the fact that, hey, just because the other team's good doesn't mean our guys don't get motivated. And sometimes that's all it takes. We've seen that before. I mean, my gosh, the Houston Cougars came here in 1969 and convinced that they're winning by 40 over that sophomore-dominated team. And look what happened. You get a team that comes out there and they believe, and the other team believes too much in themselves. Things can happen, but they're better because they're better. And I think that these losses are gonna weigh in a positive way on them. Again, I think that the Utah loss and the Kentucky loss were a lot harder to overcome than this one. So I think that they'll look a lot better in this. Now, here's the one that really bothers me, though. If they go to Baton Rouge and get absolutely skunked by LSU,
it could be bad.
That could be bad news for the remaining 2 ball games.
Having to beat Florida State at home to salvage a 500 season.
That could be some real bad carryover.
Yeah,
there.
We'll see what happens. There's a lot to.
But I like Billy Napier, buddy. I talked to so many people since Saturday who, and it's a mixed bag. We got people who think that, boy, he is way in over his head, and I don't see that. I see a guy that has a plan, and he's so stick to it. He has such a stick to it attitude about it that I think people tend to think that he's just not capable of grasping the big picture. He grasps it, but I think he's got tunnel vision, which I'm glad he has. You can see a big picture and have tunnel vision. The tunnel vision is, what do I have to do for the big picture to expand and be mine? I think he's got that.
All right, it's that time of year where we're going to start hearing about coaches moving, and lots of rumors out there. This is one I talked to the man about last Friday. Here's the latest on Urban Meyer. All right, there's some Brenton Kelly, CBS Brenton. He's not from CBS, I don't think. But anyway, here it is. Breaking. Michigan State is expected to finalize a massive $100 million deal to make Urban Meyer their next head coach. Deal could be done this week. Cole J. Barron confirms. A new era begins in East Lansing.
Am I supposed to get? Is it time for me to giggle? Because I really would like to.
Mm-hmm. Sure. My remark with Shelley was, Urban was, I can't see Shelley living in East Lansing. Can you?
No, I can't see Shelley living any farther north than Atlanta, Georgia.
Or Sarasota now.
And she likes Longboat Key so much. I can't see. I can't. Shelley tells me, says we are coaching again.
Yeah.
Urban likes his gig. and everything like that. And goodness, what has he got to prove as a coach? Nothing at all. And that's the whole thing. I don't think Urban Meyer ever will coach again. And first off, number one. Number two, if he were to coach again, and this is an if, not a whatever, I think there are 3 jobs that he would listen to. One of them is Texas.
Yeah, I agree.
Miami.
Although,
simply because of the fact that he could recruit what he needs within a 100-mile radius, which is the same thing you can do in Texas, and the same thing you can do at my number 3 place, which would be, and I'll lump them together, UCLA, Southern Cal. And of the 2, I think Southern Cal would be the better job of the 2, because they are a private school with mega donors. They don't have Aggie money or Texas money, but it's not far off there. Texas, only God has more money than the Longhorns, and only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies.
Well, at the Gainesville Quarterback Club, I was sitting there that night. Urban spoke, and one of the people asked the question, "Urban, there's rumors about you coaching out there. Would you consider coaching again?" And Shelley got up and said, "No." She spoke for him, so pretty adamant there. So we'll see that. I don't see that happening, but what do I know? All right, Francis.
I can't say. I just can't see it, simply because he's not the young Urban Meyer with who's got to prove he can do
60 years old.
He's 60 years old. He's been there. He's done that.
And he has plenty of money. Money.
He's got all the money he could ever use, because let me put it this way. What they paid him in salary at Ohio State was tip of the iceberg. I mean, what he made. They loved him there at Ohio State. He loved it there at Ohio State. He wouldn't go back there. Would never go back there again. But like I said, if he's going to coach, if he were to coach, if that wild hair got up his butt so bad that he couldn't sit down, it would be first off, it would be in a warm weather location. Secondly, it would be in a place that he can get all the players he needs within a 100-mile radius. He and I had this discussion over lunch back in 2011. And as he said, you got to go, he said places that recruit themselves almost, that you can win with local guys, that you don't, if you need a national guy, you're winning enough that you can go pluck one here and there.
Yeah.
So he ain't going to coach again.
All right. So remind you folks, we have the Urban Meyer Show, Best Fridays in Football, every week right here on this channel. We talked to him last week. Guess where he was? He's in Lawrence, Kansas, in Allen Fieldhouse. Watch Gronk run the basketball. But Urban is, I trust Urban. He's always never lied to me. When he tells me he has no interest, I believe he has no interest. But we'll ask him again, as we do every week, Urban, what's the latest? So, Francis, give us 30 seconds on Gator basketball. I'll let you go to bed.
Gator basketball won their second scrimmage this weekend over FIU. 29 points for Mr. Will Richard. 19 for Riley Kugel. 12 points, 4 blocked shots by the freshman Alex Condon. This is going to be a team that with Condon, Samuel, Tyrese Samuel, and Han Logton, who's the 7-1 transfer from Marquette, and Tommy Hawk, the kid from Pennsylvania, who I'm telling you, this kid was, whoever does these evaluations that said this is a 3-star kid, got it all wrong. This is a 4-star kid who can really play. He can handle the ball. He can dish it out. This is going to be a much better team than last year. I think it's a team that could win 23, 24, 25 ball games this year.
For the best basketball coverage on the Gators, you got it right here. Franz Beard, go to GatorBaitMedia.com. Sign up if you're not a member. Of course, he's not too bad on football either, by the way. His daily columns are really a staple of what we do, and you want to join them and catch up with Franz. Francis, good job, buddy. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Now I'm doing all right for a guy with dilated eyes.
Well, I didn't notice you brought it up, but look okay to me.
They're dilated. You're coming in like this.
I thought you were on hard drugs or something, man. I didn't know.
No. I had to go get the eyes checked today at Ocala Eye, and dilation and it takes me a good 7-8 hours to get over it.
I was my man, Dr. Michael Morris. Okay.
Yeah. What a tremendous doctor. What a good human being. Yeah. On top of that,
you got it.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you, Franz Beard. Read him on thegatorbaitmedia.com. Let me tell you something else you should know about. Support our sponsors that support this program. And one of the chief ones is Renstar Medical Research. They've been a sponsor of ours for a long, long time, and we greatly appreciate that. They also do a terrific job here in our community, constantly doing things that make the city better to live in. And they're also looking out after our health, and they have these clinical trials all the time that make us better and give us better opportunities to take care of ourselves. They are a patient-centered clinical research facility with cutting-edge technology for research trials and things like Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, all kind of things like migraines, fibromyalgia, other conditions that affect us here in our community. You can be a part of this if you'd like to see if you can qualify. Go to renstar.net and find out how you do that. In some cases, time and travel are compensated for. Since their inception in 1998, Renstar participated in more than 700 clinical trials, continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical companies and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks to our Monday night crew here, Shane Matthews and Franz Beard. On behalf of them and our sponsors, I'm Buddy Barton. Have a good evening. Back tomorrow. Don't forget, I'll be on Shane's show in the morning and back here tomorrow night for more of this nonsense. Hope you join us. Thanks.